Equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Well, this first example here is showing parallel lines. The second example here is showing perpendicular lines. And the third example here is showing just lines that intersect. Okay? Perpendicular lines are going to have one solution. Intersecting lines are going to have one solution. There is another example where they have an infinite number of solutions because they're the same line. And then parallel, there's not going to be any points of intersection, so it has 0 solutions. All right, so we have y equals x plus 2 and y equals x plus 1. They are parallel. Their slopes are equal. Okay, this means parallel, what I just circled right here, parallel. Their slopes are equal. Each of them have a slope of 1. Okay. In my next set here, we have perpendicular lines. They meet at a 90-degree angle. Y equals 2/3 x plus 2. Its slope is 2/3. To have an equation of a line that is perpendicular, the slope of the perpendicular line has to have the opposite, meaning the sign change, opposite reciprocal. Reciprocal means flip of the fraction. So y equals a -3/2 x plus 2. If we take a look here, how did I do this? Let's do, well, okay. If we were able to twist this a little bit or not, we would be able to show that this slope right here is 0, so the reciprocal of that would be undefined. If we had something that was like this, of a slope 1, and then another one that was perpendicular, meaning it would have a slope of the negative reciprocal, which would be a -1. And our last example are just two lines that intersect. All right. So another example for perpendicular, okay, is if we have a slope of 3, something that is perpendicular would have a slope of -1/3, because the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3 and the opposite is negative. So what they're going to be asking you is questions like, what do the following two equations represent? And then over at the right, it's going to have equivalent lines, meaning they have the same slope and same intercept. Parallel lines, same slope, but the intercepts are different. Perpendicular lines are lines that have slopes that are negative or opposite reciprocal. So on equivalent and parallel lines, your slopes are going to be the same. Slope's going to equal slope, slope's going to equal slope. On a perpendicular, whatever the slope is equal to, the perpendicular line is going to be the opposite, so the sign changes, and the reciprocal. So it'll be -1/m. Algebraically, that's how that's written. So when we take a look at these two equations, the first thing I need to do is figure out the slope. So the best thing to do is write it in the form y equals mx plus b. That means I want y equals the x term and then the b term. So on my top equation, I have 5x minus 5y equals a -4. I want to move my 5x over there. So that's a -5y equals a -5x minus 4. Remember to do that, we subtract 5x from both sides. Okay. I have a -5y. I need to have just one y. So I have to divide everything by -5, divide by -5, divide by -5. So then I get y equals x, 1x, plus 4/5. So that is the top equation written out, y equals mx plus b form. Second equation, rewriting that. I'll write everything down. 15x plus 15y equals a negative 5. First thing I need to do is move that over there. 15y equals a negative 15x minus 5. Then I have to divide everything by 15. So I'm going to get y equals a negative x minus 1/3. Okay? So I look at the slopes. The slopes are, here I have a slope of 1, and here I have a slope of a negative 1. Okay? They are opposite reciprocals of each other, so these two equations are perpendicular lines, barring, of course, that I made any mistakes. Let's take a look at the next one. Again, we're going to want to rewrite them in the form y equals mx plus b. Now, in today's lesson, you're going to be doing this enough, so you're going to figure out how to rewrite this. I know some of you still struggle with this a little bit, but to get this done correctly, you have to be able to rewrite. Negative 5x plus 5y equals 1, my top equation. First thing I do is add 5x to both sides. That's the same as when I move it to the right. So I get 5y equals 5x plus 1. Now I divide everything by 5 because I have 5y. I want to know what y is equal to. So I have to divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. And I get 1x plus 1/5. So my slope here is 1. So equivalent lines are going to have, remember, the slopes equal and the intercepts equal. Parallel lines are just going to have slopes equal. Perpendicular lines, the slope is the opposite reciprocal. Okay? And I really don't foresee you having none of the above on any of your problems. Negative 25 x plus 25y equals a negative 4. Again, I'm going to add 25x to both sides, so I get 25y equals 25x minus 4. Divide everything by 25. I get y equals 1x minus 4/25. Okay, my slope is equal. Since my slopes are equal, I either have parallel lines or equivalent lines. My intercepts are different, so I have parallel lines. Remember, to be equivalent lines, both parallel and intercepts have to be equal. Rewriting in the top equation, 5x minus 2y equals a negative 5. So we have a negative 2y equals a negative 5x minus 5. Divide everything by negative 2. Y equals 5 halves x plus 5 halves. My slope is 5 halves. My intercept is 5 halves. Second equation. Negative 2x minus y equals 1. Add 2x to both sides. I get a negative y equals 2x plus 1. Now I have a negative y. I need to change the sign of that because I want to know what y is equal to. Not a negative y. So I have to multiply everything by a negative 1. So I get y equals a negative 2x minus 1. My slope is a negative 2. My intercept is a negative 1. My slopes are different. So that means I cannot have equivalent lines. I cannot have parallel lines. My slopes are different. Are they negative reciprocal? In other words, if I have 5 halves, to be perpendicular, it would have to be a negative 2/5. And it's not a negative 2/5. Nope, it's not a negative 2/5. So I do not have perpendicular lines. Well, here I just said we're not going to have none of the above. Well, we are. Those are just two lines that intersect. Starting again with the top equation, negative 5x plus 5y equals 3. I have to add 5x to both sides, so I get 5y is equal to 5x plus 3. Divide everything by 5. Y equals x plus 3/5. My slope is 1. My intercept is 3/5. Second equation, 15x minus 15y equals 3. I have to subtract 15x from both sides. So I have a negative 15y equals a negative 15x plus 3. Divide everything by 15. Actually, divide everything by negative 15. So then I'm going to get y equals x minus 3/15, which is going to be 1/5. So I get y equals x minus 1/5. My slope is 1. My intercept is a negative 1/5. Okay? I have slope of 1, but my intercepts are not equal. But my slopes are the same. That means I have parallel lines. Again, barring any mistakes that I've done to this point. All right, on this one, it says find the slope, y-intercept of the line that is perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x plus 3. That passes through the negative 6, 5. At a negative 6, 5, this is where we're at, the little red dot. So we want the line that is perpendicular. That's going to go through here something like, if I get my rough idea here correct, something like this, so that it's perpendicular. Well, remember, to be perpendicular, my slope has to be the opposite reciprocal. The slope in the given equation is equal to 1/2, so my perpendicular line is going to be a negative 2. Okay? Well, if my slope is a negative 2, then that means I have y equals a negative 2x plus b. Okay? Think of this problem as, going back here, we can just go back to this here. Think of this problem as we have to know what x is equal to, what y is equal to, and what m is equal to, and we're going to substitute that into the y equals mx plus b. Okay, well, actually sub it into y equals mx and then solve for b. We've done a ton of these problems. We just haven't done the perpendicular or parallel part to it. Okay, so I know my slope has to be a negative 2 to be perpendicular to the given one. My x and y come from this point right here, which is the negative 6, 5. So y is 5, and that is going to equal m, which is a negative 2, times our x, which is a negative 6, plus b. I'm going to have to do this math. 5 equals 12 plus b. I need to get rid of the 12, so that means I subtract 12 from both sides. Negative 7 is equal to b. Again, barring any mistakes, the slope or the equation of my perpendicular is going to be y equals the slope negative 2x minus 7, because b is equal to a negative 7. My slope is a negative 2. My intercept, my b, is a negative 7. So if we were to continue here, I was pretty close on my graph, going through a negative 7 perpendicular to that line, just to show you again. So my slope's a negative 2, and my intercept is a negative 7. Alrighty then, let's take a look at the next problem. Perpendicular again, so that means the given slope is equal to a negative 1. A line that is perpendicular is going to have a slope of 1, the negative reciprocal. Okay? So as I'm doing my problem, I need to know what my x is equal to, I need to know what my y is equal to, and I need to know what my m is equal to, and I will substitute those into y equals mx plus b. My m of my new equation is going to be 1 from here. Okay? My x and y are going to come from the red point. So my y is 6. That is equal to m1 times x negative 2 plus b. Do this math. 6 is equal to negative 2 plus, and I'm going to put that as a capital, excuse me, I'm going to put that as a capital B so we don't get that confused with my 6. I need to add 2 to both sides, so I get 8 is equal to my B. So my slope, we already put that in here as 1, and my B is 8. Let's take a look at the next problem. Now on this next problem, you have to be careful as you're going through your lessons because this time it's asking parallel. So right now, my slope of my given equation is equal to 2/3. For something that is parallel, it is also going to be 2/3 because they're going to have the same slope. So I'm going to have an equation of a line that's same slope, and it's going to be parallel, so it's going to be something like this. Okay, going through there like that. So my answer is going to be, my slope is going to be 2/3. That's already done. My intercept's going to be somewhere around a negative 6. Okay, that's just a visual check. So, well, let's do that in the same order I was doing it before. So, x equals, y equals, and m equals. My x is going to equal 5. My y is going to equal a negative 2. Now I substitute those into y equals mx plus b. So my y is a negative 2. My m is 2/3 times x, which is 5, plus b. So I have a negative 2 is equal to 10/3 plus b. I have to subtract 10/3 from both sides. When I do that, double check it on your calculator, but I believe that is going to be a negative 5 1/3 is equal to b. 3 1/3, negative 5 1/3. That should be right. So my slope is 2/3, and my intercept is a negative 5 1/3. And what did I say? It was going to be something close to 6, and it turns out to be a negative 5 1/3. Negative 5. I don't know if you can see the negative there. All right. Let's look at the next problem. Oh, we're done. So remember, parallel slope is going to be parallel to slope, meaning the slope is equal to the slope. Okay? For something to be perpendicular, it has to be the opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal to be perpendicular. So those are the two key concepts, parallel and perpendicular. Parallel equals slope, perpendicular the opposite reciprocal slope. And again, the assignment is equations of parallel and perpendicular lines.